the 23 days that I'm in the hospital and I miraculously live, but it leaves me with a condition that plagues me for 14 years. And I kept on getting flare-ups, and I got the best treatment possible in the world. And then I did not want to slowly die. I mean, if I were to die overnight, that would have been fine. But this prolonged process, and I started seeking alternatives because I could not comprehend how an extremely healthy individual overnight is expected to die just because a surgery took place. And I ended up coming across Dr. Joe Dispenza's teachings, and I realized that we create our own reality. My challenge was I did not know how to master my emotions. So I knew what I was supposed to do and think, but I could not embody that. And that's when I made a decision, because I had researched EFT before. I made a decision to get an EFT practitioner, and I started EFT. And over a period of maybe a year and a half, I completely healed. And that was the journey there. And that really made me realize that all disease is a lowering of frequency and traumas that we hold in the body, and our negative thinking patterns where we catastrophize. And I decided to become an EFT practitioner, and I am really happy that I did that, because now I can empower other individuals. So they had guaranteed there was no chance I could heal. My boss at the time fired me after the hospital. He told me, pack up your stuff. You'll never be able to work again.
Your story is, how do I put it? It contains a whole lot of hope, to folks who are also in a similar situation. Now, getting to listen to your story now, it is going to stir up their hope in that you mentioned something. You said, we create our own reality, and that's beautiful. And one amazing thing I learned from your story again is you said you listened to Dr. Joe's teaching. Beautiful.
Dr. Joe
Yeah, yeah. That's a beautiful one, getting to seek out knowledge, and, it's amazing. I love it. I love it. So, shall we get started with the questions?
Yes.
All right. For the sake of those who might not be familiar with what clinical EFT is, can you talk more on that and, maybe
clinical EFT, yes, is evidence-based EFT. And let's talk what EFT is. It's a combination of cognitive therapy and Chinese medicine, because we have some statements and we use the body's acupuncture points to move energy and release energy. So let's start with the premise. What is disease? It's a lowering of frequency in the body. And what is the body? The body is a battery that has an electromagnetic field. When the person dies, what is the first thing we do? We put 2 pedals on them to jumpstart their heart. So when the energy is not flowing correctly in the body and the voltage between cells is not the correct, the information doesn't transfer and the body gets diseased. So EFT then is clinical, as we said, the clinical approach, but what it is, it's a combination of cognitive therapy plus tapping on the body's meridian. So it's like acupuncture without the needles, to move and shift the energy. And emotions hold the beliefs. It's not the other way around. And the emotion is more potent. So when you release one emotion, you get rid of many beliefs. So it's an energy modality for healing that can be self-administered.
Got it. All right, so let us get personally bit. All right. So what was the turning point in your life that made you decide to transition from healthcare administration to focusing on EFT services?
So I was sick those 14 years, but then I deteriorated even worse And so kind of almost couldn't work at all. And I realized that I had gone to the Mayo Clinic for treatment and they pretty much couldn't do anything for me. And I realized now it's going to be a slow death process. So this was the second time trying to encounter this death experience, but now it was going to be drawn out. So I couldn't die the next morning. And now I realized I have to do something about this. And I started studying and researching till I came to various teachings. But the one that stuck the most for me because it made sense was Dr. Joe Dispenza's, because it talked about brain waves and how the body needs to be in a certain brainwave for healing. So we need to be in theta or delta for restorative and repair. And then I realized that I wasn't in that state. I was in a constant flight or fight alert state, and my body was getting worse. And so that was the turning point for me to do.
Okay, you still have some questions to go. I love how you're answering those questions. You're making it very
Okay.
plain and easy to understand. Beautiful. Okay, can you describe a moment or experience with a client that solidified your belief in the power of EFT and reality hacking for transformation? Long
I have
question.
I have one client who actually healed her Tourette's. So I don't know, Tourette's is a condition where the person does these jerk movements like this, out of control, they can't stop them, and may start cursing and they can't stop it. And so she was in her 40s and she had Tourette's, and she said the symptoms started at 4. I did EFT with what's called a birth reimprint, and we found out that the Tourette's happened. Now, this is going to be shocking for the audience. So with the birth imprint, I take her to the experience while she's getting born. So before she gets born, so it was I think it was the second trimester, she has her vision of her mom being slammed on the crib, her father slamming the mother, which gave a shock to the embryo, like this. And of course, she had all the anger that came from the mom. So she picked up through the pregnancy process, the Tourette. And when she realized and healed that, her Tourette symptoms kind of went away. So she was carrying the mother's trauma from the pregnancy. So the child and the mother are connected. We also know that from quantum physics. In 2022, they got the Nobel Prize for entanglement. So when one particle has a certain thing, the other particle does the same. So we are connected the same way because we are spiritual beings. So that was one transformation. I have a second lady who has jumped timelines. So from a horrible reality, has shifted having a family situation completely opposite of what she was in. And she is very calm, and her anxiety and her anger has been reduced. And now she's happy to move forward. So she had a family situation that was crumbling. And now here she is, both the people around her have been transformed, and she's calmer and more hopeful.
Sophia, you're actually doing a great job. I tell you, that's a great impact you're having on people's life. That's
Thank you.
amazing. That's amazing. Okay, we have 2 more questions to go. Now,
Absolutely.
your approach is described as trauma informed and compassionate. Can you explain what that means in your practice and why it is important?
Absolutely. So when the person has a trauma, we don't want them to relive it. And let's address what trauma is. Something that the person has experienced, they cannot resolve, and it's constantly playing in their subconscious mind, and they're projecting that trauma to their current reality. So we do not want the person to relive it. So we use various techniques to eliminate the emotional charge without reliving the trauma. And why do we do that? Because we know from neuroscience, neurons that fire together wire together. So we don't want the person, like in psychotherapy, to keep on repeating the thing because they're going to bring it in their reality, and we don't want to re-traumatize them. So we use modalities that we take the emotional charge out of that event so they can be neutral and eventually let go of the memory. And where a memory is stored? Between two neurons. So neurons that do not fire together no longer wire together. So over a period of time, they will be pruned and they will no longer keep on recalling that traumatic memory. The reason they're recalling it is because the body is on alert and is trying to fix. So that's what trauma informed is.
Brilliant. I got that. Okay, so bring this to an end, Sophia. What would you like to leave the audience with? Like a final thought. And to those ones who would like to reach out to you, learn more about what you do, maybe there are some things that you said that resonated well with them and they would like to know more. How can that be possible?
First of all, I'd like the audience to know that everything is possible and healable. They don't have to drop their other modalities. This could be an adjunct, and they can be empowered to change what they're experiencing. There's no need to be reliving someone else's movie or consuming what medicine tells us or whatever modality it is telling that it's not possible. You can go on the internet, you can see people have healed from cancer they were expected to die. So this is not just EFT. I'd like the audience to know that the power is within them. And the most important is the body was designed to self-heal. I do not do any healing. I am just a guide. When they fell off the bike when they were little kids, they did not worry to see if a scab was going to close or the wound was going to close. So under the right conditions, the body is capable of healing. If there's another problem in their life, we can talk about timelines at another time, but you can be in a reality where the problem no longer exists. Where they can find me, they can come to my website, tapintoyourbestself.com. So that's tapintoyourbestself.com. I offer a 20-minute complimentary session. I have EFT packages. I do intuitive readings. And I also teach a course from Dr. Joe Dispenza. So a package with the course will actually transform the individual's life. And they can break free. And EFT is not something they have to stay on forever. They can learn how to do it themselves. So the key is to guide them to be able to move on after
that's actually one of the characteristics of a good teacher. They want to teach you in such a way that when you're alone, you'll be able to continue even without your help any longer. That's a good one. I love that. So it has been a beautiful moment with you on the show, Sophia. Thank you for coming and thank you for sharing this amazing insight with us. It means a whole lot. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity, and I hope we can help more individuals to go into their power so we can create a new world, seeing what's happening outside of us now, and we can create a new reality. And the collective group of observers determine reality. So we can shift to something better.
That's true. Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you.